helps too. Keep your throttle up as you come in to descend. One of the better landings I've done. What's going on YouTube? John without the H here. Today we're going to be trying and hopefully succeeding at making a full-scale flap landing tutorial for the Freewing F-18 90mm. This thing is a beast. I just had some issues flying it. I don't even feel like showing the footage. It's so bad. The plane's fine. It just looked really terrible. It's not up to my standards. So we're going to reshoot, try again, and show you guys just how much more fulfilling and interesting it can be to land with full span flaps, but also how much more challenging it can be as well. So we got the jet. We got a brand new 5200 50C Z-Pack. We're going to pop in there. I'm going to go ahead and get her connected, and we're going to go ahead and take off and try to do some touch and goes. So one of the issues that I ran into before I even took this jet out today, and we're not even took it out, but before I flew today, was that the I'm not even joking how bad it was to just even taxi out, because I couldn't taxi. I forgot to reconnect the nose wheel to the independent nose wheel system that I'm using. And what that ended up doing is I started taxiing for my takeoff roll, and I couldn't actually turn or steer, which is just awful, right? You should be able to steer at the very least. So that was a problem. I had to spend 20 minutes here in the hot sun, and my hands are sweating, and that's one of the reasons why the last footage came out so bad. I'm out here standing in the sun. Sun's going down, and it's still hot out here. And there's just bugs all over the place, and I'm just having a rough go of it. So we got the full span flaps in. This time around we're gonna hopefully do a bit better. Turn the chest cam on so you guys can see the stick movements necessary to fly like this. Make sure that we connect the 5280 RC afterburner system as well. Thank you, Larry. I totally forgot about that. I need to put the plug in a more conspicuous location so that I don't make a clown of myself here. There's really no point to an afterburner if it doesn't do anything. It's just dead weight. All right, full flaps coming in, takeoff. System engaged. Let's do this. Point the camera up a little bit more on the chest cam. There we go. And Larry's BlueFire system is engaged. Look at that thing go.
30 seconds. Flaps gear up.
Let's turn her around.
23.76 volts. Gear down.
Drop the gear.
Tails normal.
Make sure we turn the, what do you call that thing off? The rudder tow system off, because we don't want that active while we're coming into land. I haven't trimmed that out for landing yet. All it's there for is to help the nose get up on takeoff.
1 minute.
Level the wings.
Full flaps.
Drop the flaps all the way. I've got a little bit of a mix that helps move the ailerons a little bit more with them being down.
24 volts.
Got to keep on the throttle to bring it in safe. Go for our first touch and go. Looking good.
Flaps up. Gear up.
Little on the rougher side of things, but we'll take it. I'm not promising every landing is going to be perfect, as Tail Heavy Productions just put it recently. Not every flight has to be perfect. However, I do feel that when you're flying, you should be aiming to at least be better than where you were. And I've gone back and looked at my old footage ever since I started making these landing tutorials, and I feel like I'm making better content now, which I hope you guys appreciate. So, just the end goal is always improvement. No matter what you're trying to do, always try to improve. Okay, we got the full flaps out again. We're gonna trade altitude for airspeed as we sink here, as we come in lower and I start holding up with the elevator. Start using a little bit more throttle to keep it up.
2 minutes.
Very lucky I'm not hitting those tall blades of grass on either side of the 17-foot taxiway, because that would be no bueno. It would probably destroy the jet. It would grab one of the wings and flip it into the ground. Freewing jets are pretty well built, but they're not immune to the laws of physics. Okay, we're gonna drop the gear before we begin our turn to final and begin approaching. Got two touch and goes so far. It's better than my last few flights where the camera shut off on me and I had to land without the
22.58 volts.
the video.
Full flaps.
Okay, coming in a little early on the full flaps, that's okay. Wings are level. It's a little unstable looking, but that's okay. I also have bugs attacking my arms, so I'm trying to like get them off at the same time by moving my arm. Okay, keeping the throttle up.
Flap gear up. 3 minutes.
lot of this is throttle management, guys. So if you see me like bringing the jet in with a nice sync rate, that's because I've got about
21.9 volts.
25 to 50% throttle engaged. I'll have to go back and look at the video on my chest cam to actually see what it's currently doing. Okay, dropping the gear.
22.09 volts.
There we go. I'm gonna turn the jet around. Oh, stalled it. Okay. Full flaps coming in. There we go. If you haven't seen how to do the setup on this, it's on my maiden flight at the end. I would advise you guys check it out if you want to see how this is done. See how stable it is though with the throttle engaged. Best landing so far.
21.55 volts.
Next one's gonna be the last one. Otherwise, we're gonna end up hitting LVC and crashing the plane. Although, no, I turned off LVC. This is flying on the Avian 130 amp from an old Viper jet somebody that sold to me. Not the Viper jet itself, but the electronics I was looking for. Brand new, what do you want to call it? Brand new motor, but reused ESC, 130 amp Spektrum Avian. So I turned off the, that, whatever you call it, low voltage cutoff.
2.16 volt, full flaps.
Okay, we're coming in with full flaps. Got a nice steep approach here. Gonna hold. There we go. Let her sink. As we start getting closer to the ground, add more throttle because we're gonna have to pull back on the elevators to keep it going level. There we go. There we are. Put the crow out to get the jet to slow down even more. I'm just happy I got it to do anything, considering the GoPro overheated momentarily. And then I had to fly without anything to see. So it's very stable with full span flaps. I think some of the instability you might see is just from the additional mix that I put in there to kick the ailerons around. I can probably tweak that, but so far it's flying really well. We'll bring it back up here in a second, going around some of those bumps. Sorry if it looks like it's a little janky. And we'll come right back here in just a minute. We're gonna get the chest cam going again. Got to turn it back on. I've been using the unique, or not unique, but a cheeky little technique of running the throttle at like 5% just to get a jet blast of air coming out of the nozzles, and then cooling down the GoPro in between flights so it doesn't overheat and shut off mid-flight again. Okay, chest cam is on.
Throttle open. Flaps 50.
Rudder toe is active. Oh, that might have been what it was too. The rudder toe was on the whole time. That might have been the whole problem. Maybe it wasn't CG, but I still bet center of gravity has something to do with it. So we're gonna shove the battery a little further back this time, back to where it was in the last video, and try that again. And make sure we connect the 5280 afterburner because it's gonna be very bright at this time of day now that the sun's going down. Got about 45 minutes till sundown, so this is like the perfect time to film. Make sure to turn off the rudder toe this time around. Here we go. Chest cam's running, and we're good to go. Half throttle takeoff.
Flaps up, tail gear up.
Yeah, see the way it launched itself up with that stuff? It was interesting. Somebody over there talking to their dog or something. Okay.
Gear down.
Drop the gear. Make sure we're still in full span flaps.
23.36 volts.
Keep it at half throttle while we turn. Again, we don't want to stall as we turn. It's getting a little harder to see. I may have to go home soon. Okay, gear out. I should be able to see the nose light. There it is.
Flaps 50, full flaps.
Yeah, it's much more stable now. So it was definitely the rudder toe. If I was to turn that on, I think it would pitch right up in the air.
1 minute.
So we don't need the rudder toe for landing. I just got to remember to turn it off. So I'm holding the throttle back, or halfway to get her down, modulating my descent with the throttle. Almost hit that edge of the taxiway, man. It's very easy to do. Gosh. Too busy congratulating myself for a nice sync rate and not keeping the nose completely down center line. You learn good center line habits flying at the airport. You absolutely do. This pavement's not in the best of condition. So, and you only have 17 feet of width to work with, and a lot of it's overrun with grass on each side. So, okay, just about stalled as I turned there. It's a common issue with this jet. It looks like it's stalling, but probably isn't. Okay, as we get closer, drop the flaps all the way. Yeah, without that rudder toe coming in, man, it's so much more manageable. So it's not a CG issue as much as it is a rudder toe,
2 minutes.
but it is easier to land with the nose heavier aspect to it for some reason.
23.14 volts.
Got a quick touch and go.
Gear up.
Getting eaten alive by mosquitoes right now, it feels like. Arms itchy as all get out. I hope you guys are finding this useful though. I mean, the full span flaps, the biggest thing to it is really just keep it on the power. You're not going to land this thing well if you cut the power too early. If you're coming in for the final approach and you're like a couple of feet above the pavement and you smoothly apply the upward stab pressure, then yeah, you'll probably be fine. But if you just yank it up, or you'll just stall into the ground most likely. Okay, throttle back, full flaps coming in. There's no pitching moment associated with this either. Now if I put the rudder toe on, watch this.
Rudder toe.
Oh, it's fine. Weird. It did kind of point the nose up a little bit more.
3 minutes.
Either way, I don't want to land with it. Okay, we're getting closer to the ground.
22.98.
Use the rudder to turn it. Pretty good looking landing.
Gear up.
Bank to the left. Let's pull out of here. I gotta put it in safe real quick. My hands are getting really sweaty. I'm gonna try to maintain the 2 uploads. Uploads every other day kind of thing, but with it being warmer, it's very hard to find the time to want to get out and fly. Other people love flying when it's warm. I hate it. It's the worst time of year for me. All the bugs are out. The
22.18.
what do you call it? The winds are stagnant. It's super humid. It reminds me of living in Florida, and I just don't miss that right now. So, in fact, it gets hotter here for a couple of months than it does in Florida, which is the worst part about it. But the heat doesn't last forever like it does in Florida. God, go away, bugs. Okay, here we go. Keeping the approach path with the throttle. Glide slopes looking nice. A little bit of corrections to the left and right.
Gear up.
Last one is going to be this next one. I can run this battery down because I don't have LVC, but I don't want to because it's still a good battery. Put it in safe, wipe my hands off again real quick. God, this is awful. Awful. I don't know how you guys love summertime flying. It's not even summer, it's spring in NC, and it's still bad. It's starting to feel like summer. We got a day of 96 coming up next week. For those of you in Europe that don't use freedom units, 96 degrees Fahrenheit roughly translates to like 37 Celsius, I think. It's pretty rough. Looking good, looking good.
22.32 volts.
Almost hit the Griffin. I should have moved it.
Gear up. 5 minutes.
I'm gonna move a little further back. And I'm also gonna scratch my arm because my arm's getting eaten alive.
1.23 volts.
Okay, throw it in safe real quick. Scratch my arm. That's another reason why safe is good. I don't need safe to fly. Sometimes I just need it to like do something quickly that requires moving my hand off of the transmitter. These bugs are making it rough, man.
22.01, gear down.
Okay, this should be the last landing for real this time. I almost hit the Griffin. I don't know why I left it there. That was a really dumb decision on my part. Another thing to pre-flights is check for FOD, including jets that you've left on the pavement or the grass where you're landing and taking off. Should be able to see the jet really well. Landing lights coming in. Okay, here we go. Getting her above that crappy pavement.
22.09 volts.
Okay.
Flaps up.
So much for that.
Gear up. Flight pack 21.04 volts. 6 minutes. Flight pack 21.25 volts.
We'll get it down. Even if I have to land without flaps, I'll get it down. Making sure my runway is clear. Stand a little bit further away from the taxiway.
Gear down.
Turn her around.
Flight pack 21.6 volts.
Yeah, so this is what it sounds like with my battery alert system. It's constantly telling me that I'm going below voltage. That's okay. I think we got it this time. Just got to get a little lower to the ground. Just had bad approaches before. This is where it needs to be, right here. We're on the money, on the ball, as they would call it in the carriers.
Crow.
Crow's out to slow the plane down. So last issue that we had was not center of gravity because I pushed the battery back about as far as it was last time. The issue was rudder toe being active, which causes the plane to fly really weird. I have heard that the full-scale jet does use rudder toe even on landing, but that's one aspect of scale functionality that I can go without on landing. Takeoff looks cool, it works well, but for landing, no thanks.
7 minutes.
All right, we're gonna go back up in a second, do some more touch and go practice with it. Hopefully you guys find this stuff useful and interesting. All right guys, we're back with the Freewing 90mm F-18 to finish off this landing tutorial. The battery is a 50C, Z6 cell pack. Plump, falls down on the ground because it came off my lap there. Silly canopy, shouldn't be falling. I should have put you where I wouldn't let it fall. All right, we're gonna go ahead and take off, do another round of touch and goes because the wind is dead calm. It's really easy to do this now. Rudder toe is active. Again, we learned from the last video, don't use rudder toe for landing unless you really like the way it feels, because I certainly don't. Oh, almost took off without chest cam. All right, here we go. Half throttle takeoff.
23.79 volts. Flaps gear up.
It's a magnificent jet. I really enjoy it. Now that I've really gotten it kind of worked out and got all of its bugs kinked and ironed and whatever you want to call it, worked out all the bugs in the jet.
3.29 volts. Tails normal.
I'm really enjoying it. Okay.
Full flaps.
Flaps coming in. Yep, center of gravity's not affecting it at all. It actually still continues to sink nice. As long as I add throttle, it won't sink. A little bit of elevator pressure helps too. Keep your throttle up as you come in to descend. One of the better landings I've done. I could feel the wind come off of that jet. It felt so good. It's so warm out here. Let's do the inverted test real quick. Flip her upside down over the trees. So she starts arcing to the ground.
Safe.
Put her in safe real quick so I can scratch my arm. There's bugs galore out here. You might have heard the carpenter bee flying around my head earlier when I was recording. It's not just carpenter bees, it's also gnats, including the ones that like to fly into your ear and go bzzz. You ever heard those? You've heard the gnats I'm talking about, and I hate them with a passion. Nothing seems to make them go away.
23.43 volts.
I have held my 90mm Viper up to my ear, so the intake is right next to my ear, and just sucked in all the bugs that were flying around my head and chopped them up real good. I'm not normally into killing things unless I absolutely have to, but insects like gnats and mosquitoes, I don't know, I'm pretty sure they can all die in a fire. I don't care. Okay, keep the approach path looking good. A little bit of rudder, straighten her out.
Flaps gear up.
I'm very happy that I've got this thing flying as well as I do.
9 volts.
To fly a Hornet without full span flaps to me just looks really wrong and weird. With full span flaps, getting it to land as well as it does helps slow the jet down too. So it's very nice to be able to
22.29 volts.
have that option and have it work as well as it does. And I hope this tutorial is helping you guys out too, because it's not that hard. You just have to remember to land with some power on the backside. Just keep the throttle up as you're approaching. In my opinion, you should be doing that anyway. It's better to have throttle and not need it than to need it and not have it and stall on the ground and break your plane. This jet, you need it though, because the amount of drag you generate from the full span flaps is enough to make the plane stall quickly. So I've probably done this about 12 times by this point. You can see that it's repeatable. It's not terribly hard to do if you haven't done something stupid like leave the rudder toe out with the battery shoved further back. And overall, the jet pretty much handles just like the full scale, as much as I've seen it handle anyway in videos.
22.34.
There's no penalty for it. You just have to be aware that you're going to have to use some throttle on your landing. That's really all it comes down to. So, you know, as long as you got some thrust as you bank, you usually don't have too much to worry about.
Full flaps.
It's when you pull and bank and pull back on the elevator with not enough thrust, enough airspeed, is when you drop a wing, you get an asymmetric stall, the plane just spirals to the ground, and If you don't know how to recover from an asymmetric stall, which is not too much different from any other stall,
22.5
you're going to end up in a bad situation.
Flaps up. Gear up.
Bank to the right this time. I got to throw it into safe real quick because my arm is absolutely killing me with itching.
Safe.
Ugh, there we go.
AS3X. 22.13 volts.
I got one more battery pack left to fly, and then I'm going to head home, I think. I'm going to see if I can shove that in here too so you guys can see the, what do you call it, some of the aerobatic maneuvers at dusk. This jet is phenomenal. I'm glad that I finally put the time in to properly show you guys how to land it. I love having tutorial content out there. I really like helping other people out.
Flaps.
And I hope this does help you. Oh, my arm's killing me with all these bugs. Anyway, let's check the...
22.39 volts.
Okay, this is going to be the last landing. Pulled that so far back that I actually ended up scraping the nozzle in the back, which is no big deal. Turn off the chest cam.
Wing normal.
We'll turn it around and take a look at it, but I'm pretty sure all I did was scrape the nozzle. This place is so challenging to fly, guys. If you can find a place like this to land, you're really going to build your skills up for landing. It's going to be the best thing you've ever done for yourself.
2.53 volts.
I can pretty much land anywhere I want now, from landing on 17 feet of taxiway every single time.
Throttle
It's
touch.
just, it's a challenging thing to do. Let's point the camera down so you guys can see what I scraped. Looks like I scraped the nozzle, the right nozzle, ever so slightly. No big deal. We're gonna go ahead and taxi this thing back.
And that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed. Please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed this content. We'll see you out there.